Hello again, Star Wars and unboxing fans. Welcome to another episode of Darth Tuba's Star Wars Unboxing Show. I'm your host, Darth Tuba. Today we have a mix and match, a hodgepodge, if you will, a plethora of different types of unboxings that we're going to do today. Some of which you see right in front of me, and some I'm going to bring out and show you later, including one that is not going to be an unboxing. It's going to be a stay boxing. But we are kind of in a holding pattern with some high-end collectibles that are on their way. They've been ordered and they're coming in. But until they get here, I am kind of left with breaking into some older pieces, or not so old pieces like this one, and working out, trying to, talk more about some of these items and doing some unboxings of some things that I've had for a while but I haven't had a chance to do. So we'll get to them all in a little bit. Before we do, I do want to talk a little bit. I'm going to put Poe over here out of the way. I want to talk a little bit about some of the news for the week. There hasn't been too much going on other than a couple of things. I will say that Star Wars The Last Jedi was nominated for and was the winner of the Best Picture Award for the AARP Movies for Grown-Ups, which, I happened to catch the little event. It aired on PBS. I think it was actually quite a cool little ceremony. It was like an awards presentation, but a little bit more low-key. And a lot of great movies, a lot of great actors and actresses and cinematographers, and everybody were kind of recognized and honored. But yeah, Star Wars The Last Jedi got the Best Picture. So kind of a cool thing. And I know that, it's not the Oscars, but then again, some would argue that the Oscars are not much more than a, political party, if you will. And, Star Wars has never been recognized, other than for some technical awards, much in the Academy Awards. So we'll take what we can get. So congratulations to Rian Johnson and the whole cast and crew of Star Wars The Last Jedi for their Movies for Grown-Ups win through AARP. And we'll see if any other awards come their way. They are certainly deserving of it, in my opinion. Another piece of news that has come out is more of an update. I mentioned last episode about the Jabba's sail barge that Hasbro is crowdsourcing, essentially. There has been some discussion with different sites and different, YouTubers and vloggers and things that they're not a big fan of this type of thing, and they kind of talk it down. Which in the end, everyone's entitled to their opinion. That's fine. I don't think it's in any way. I personally think that Hasbro is a business. They're trying to make money, and I feel like, they can do this one of two ways. They can make the product and put it out there and see who buys it, and some will buy it right away, but probably the bigger and the more expensive an item is, the more niche it's going to be, and the less likely you're going to have people buy it. So it's going to be kind of hard for everyone to commit to it. So then you look for, and then there'll be a lot of people looking for discounts and looking for it in the bargain bin and looking for it, or waiting for a coupon to come out, that type of thing. So I think Hasbro understands this, and they say, for these big items, we've gotten burned before on some of these. So what if we, for this really big ticket item, what if we do it like a crowdsource? And if you pay for it in advance and we get up to a certain amount, we will buy it. We will make it and we'll sell it, and everyone will be happy. Or if we don't get enough, that there wasn't enough interest, then they just won't do it. Now, they want 5,000 people to do this. At present, at the time of this recording, I believe there was about 1,876 or so people that have purchased it. So with 39, 38, 37 days to go, and they want to get to 5,000. So is it going to happen? I have no idea. I've never really experienced stuff like this before. I don't know how much it's going to do. I hope it does. I've already made my purchase, and I encourage anybody out there who watches this show who has the means to do this. Only if you have the means. Obviously, collectors, you have to collect responsibly. Okay, this is something that is not going to be for everybody. It's a $500 price point, which is expensive for a toy. So, make the call. If you don't think you can do it, you can't do it. And if not enough people can do it, they won't do it. And I'm not mad about that. I get it. I understand there have been some complaints in other companies doing it regarding customer service and stuff. Having never experienced that, I can't really offer an opinion either way. So we'll see what happens with that. But right now, it's just a pipe dream. We'll see what happens if it comes to fruition. All right, so that was basically the news for this week. There wasn't much else at the time of this recording. I will say that we still have, today is the last day to submit a comment. Look back 2 episodes when we had the giveaway. Look for the episode entitled with giveaway in the title. Our 2 little Ewok itty bitties, Chief Sherpa and Wicket. If you are interested in winning these, leave a comment in the episode. Not this one, although feel free to leave one in this one as well. But only comments from 2 episodes ago with the giveaway in the title will be considered. So please consider it, and I will make an announcement at the next episode. All right, so enough talk. Let's get into some unboxings here, okay? So on screen so far, you see we have some newer items. We have 9 Num from Star Wars Funko Pop. We have Sabine, also from Star Wars Funko Pop. This is from Star Wars Rebels. And we have a Poe Dameron figure. Now, the stories behind these are all different. The Poe Dameron figure was on sale for a very small amount of money. So I opted to, because it was actually in a store that was closing. It was a Walmart that was closing, which I am very shocked at because, to my knowledge, I do not know of a single Walmart that has ever closed. So this was by far a piece of surprising news to me. We do have 2 in our town, so to lose 1 to me wasn't... if the other one is still in existence, I don't see that as being as big of a deal from a shopping standpoint. I do feel bad for all the people that work there, and I hope that they are all able to secure jobs elsewhere very soon. But nonetheless, you do look for the deals, and there was one here, 50% off. So I'm not a completist when it comes to the Hasbro 12-inch. I feel that they are very basic, but I did do a review a few episodes ago on, I believe it was Rey and Kylo Ren. So I decided that this was something that I thought, for what they for the basic understanding of them, they are just toys, basic figures, 5 point of articulation, okay, but they actually are kind of nice. I mean, they're not that great for posing, other than standing up straight, okay, but they, and obviously you have to deal with the kind of the silliness of sitting, and actually he can't even sit fully without tipping over. So, you got to deal with those kind of things. So from a collecting, displaying standpoint, not so great. But, playability feature, okay, likeness of the character is pretty good, okay, and again, and this was I think this is a $7.99 figure, or $7.49 or something of that nature, and this was half price. So for $3-4, really not much you can argue with. So I think Poe, and I like to add to the trifecta. I'm going to look for a quad. I'm going to look for, because right now the trifecta is 2 heroes and a villain, so I want to get the trifecta of heroes, so I got to find me a Finn. So once I do that, we'll be in good shape. All right, then we have our Funko Pop 9 Num. This was the last Star Wars Funko Pop in the same Walmart. And as I said, I have been enjoying the Smuggler's Bounty. Although that was a piece of news I forgot to mention. That Smuggler's Bounty, I received an email from them. They are they're canceling their subscription service, or ending it, in favor of ordering it one at a time and making it a retail actually getting rid of the ordering altogether, making it a retail establishment kind of thing. I can take it or leave it. The shirts have been great. The monthly subscription. I hope there is another Star Wars subscription idea that comes to fruition, either through Disney or some other company. I think they're really great. I think they're a lot of fun. I am kind of happy to, let the subscription run out on this one, and essentially kind of pick and choose if I see specific characters that I like. I always loved 9 Num. I always thought he was a fun character. I'm happy that he's right now, honestly, he is the last alien. Well, no, it's not true. Chewbacca. But, Chewbacca and 9 Num are that's it. They're the only aliens left in the current cycle of the new trilogy. R2 and 3PO. And, well, Leia, but in the story, but I don't have a feeling that they're going to write her out now that Carrie Fisher is no longer with us. So 9 Num, he survived. Admiral Akbar didn't, but this guy did. So very good, lots of fun, and I like that he's good bobblage. So nice there. All right, so there's 9 Num. Get him up here so we can see him. And then Sabine. Now, we've talked about Sabine in earlier episodes. I'm a big Sabine fan. Not only in the sense of the Star Wars Rebels storyline, where she turns out to be a Mandalorian, and she was the keeper of the Blacksaber for a while, but also the fact that she's an artist. And in Star Wars, there hasn't been a lot of artists. And for those who don't know me, my daughter is an artist. She actually is the artist who designed the logo for Darth Tuba Star Wars unboxing page that you see at the beginning of the show. And she's an art major, and she's looking to get into art and design as a career. So, obviously having an artist in the family, we take that idea of art, the visual arts very seriously. And when you consider how much visual art is a necessary component to Star Wars. I mean, it was the first thing that was done in Star Wars, even before the script was fully fleshed out. Ralph McQuarrie did art to help sell it. So art is a big part of the history of Star Wars. Yet, in universe, there has been very little about artists. So it was nice to see Sabine as a character that had a little bit of an artistic flair that, and not just any kind of art, but like a street art kind of thing. So, and I like her with this, I guess, it started off, she was like, I can't remember the order of things. I think one season she was orange hair, one season she was purple hair, one season she's blue hair. Now, fourth season, as it's wrapping up, she's black hair. So I guess she's kind of maturing a little bit. Who knows? But this is still a lot of fun. So yay to Sabine. All right. So we've got a couple of new things. Now let's talk about this. Here's something I want to share with you that's what I'm going to call a stay boxing. And that is this. This is a Entertainment Earth exclusive, okay? That is basically an Astromech 6-pack, okay? An Astromech Droid 6-pack. And it includes, what do we have here? We have R2A5, which is this one. And that is a droid from A New Hope. We have the blue and gray one in the middle there. We have R2C2 from the Clone Wars. And you can see it's kind of a unique look to it. Again, we'll get some close-up shots of this later. Then we have R7D4, another one from the Clone Wars, with a purple and white paint scheme, or burgundy. And then we have QTKT from Star Wars: The Clone Wars, which is the KT droid that's actually the droid from that was named after Katie Johnson, I think, who was the little girl whose father was the person who started the 501st. And she was a very sick girl. She had cancer, and she unfortunately passed away. So the R2D2 builders created a droid in her name, and actually that droid has been featured prominently in the Clone Wars and has actually been seen in The Force Awakens, and I'm not sure about other ones, but so she's officially canon, so that's really great. And then we have Jabba's bartender from Star Wars: Return of the Jedi. I guess R2 wasn't the only one out there serving drinks. All right, and then we have lastly R7F5, another one from the Clone Wars. I guess the Clone Wars, there was a lot of background droids. But look at now again, I could open this up and I can take them all out, but for two reasons I've chosen not to. Number one, I want to show this package. Look at this. You've got this awesome R2D2 unit, R2 unit package that they're all sitting there in the middle. This is a very nice display piece, and I don't feel that I could display the figures any better loosely. Okay, so I've decided to leave this one alone. The other reason too is that we have a lot of Astromech droids. I mean, there are now with Disney having a build your own droid playset area in every Star Tours and even some of the stores where you can actually design your own droids. There's literally almost an infinite number of Astromech droids, just different colors with different shaped domes and everything else. So in this case, this was on sale. This was an Entertainment Earth exclusive, but it was on sale for a pretty inexpensive amount of money. So I don't know if they still have any, but you can check and see. But it's a nice little thing, and I just kind of like the way it's set up. So this will actually stay in the box. So, to my unboxing watchers that like keeping things in the box, this is for you. Okay, so some things do stay in. Now, those people that are very happy with me not opening that one are probably going to be very sad at the next thing I'm going to do. So I'd like to show you the next three things that I'm going to unbox. These are what they call comic packs, okay? And they came out roughly 10 to 12 years ago. Okay, there have been many different types. Okay, now what are comic packs? Well, for a while, this is something that Hasbro was doing, where they would take a comic book from either Marvel or the Dark Horse years, when from the Marvel series had a series of comics from 1977 through 84, 5, 6, somewhere around there. And then Dark Horse took over the licensee in the 90s and was basically the custodian of all Star Wars comics until Disney purchased Lucasfilm. And when Disney purchased Lucasfilm, I mean, everybody saw which way it was going because Disney also owns Marvel. So we figured that Dark Horse would no longer be doing it after that. So not only did Disney take that licensee back from Dark Horse and gave it back to Marvel, but they also basically said that all storylines would be considered legends, which is essentially saying that they're not actual canon. But moving forward, anything that was done would be canon. So I picked out three different ones here. I have a lot of these. In fact, I have just about all of the comic packs, and I probably will keep many of them in the package because they are very nice in the sense that, you've got you can tell by some dust on these that they've been sitting in display for a while. You've got your characters that are depicted. You've got the comic book so that you know which ones they're associated with. Now, the minute I take these out of the package, in a lot of ways, I'm going to be separating them from this, and it might be hard to remember what they were. But nonetheless, I feel that these three sets of figures have a unique feature to all of them. Sometimes the figures are a little bit more generic, okay, but these are just a little bit more, or at least one of each of the figures is a little bit unique. So what we have here is starting over here, we have what's called Star Wars Infinity's Return of the Jedi, okay, and this features Princess Leia as at the Endor outfit. It's a little different than the Endor outfits that she's had on in other sculpts, and she has a different type of weapon, so that helps you with her unique. But look at Vader. Vader is white, and there's a reason for that, okay? This is not, even when the Star Wars Dark Horse comics were considered canon, before Disney decided that they're not, this story was, in fact, a what-if story, okay, which I'll get to in a little bit. All right, then we have this one, which is a very popular comic series called Crimson Empire. So it includes Karnor Jax and Kir Kanos. Not names I'm totally familiar with, but I do remember this story. These are like some of the Emperor guards and kind of how they become that way. Okay, so that's pretty cool. And then lastly, we go back to an old Marvel one, basically Marvel number 2, okay, which is actually one of the Star Wars movie depictions, okay, Star Wars number 2. But this is Governor Tarkin, and this is a Stormtrooper. But look, if you look closely, you'll see that Governor Tarkin is all dressed in like a green jumpsuit, kind of very 70s, all right? And the Stormtrooper actually has a lot of shades of blue in it, okay, and red eyes. It's just a very different look. And that's also, there's reasons for all that. So we're going to open up all these, okay? We're going to open them up, and we're going to kind of talk through each of them, okay? So starting with, they're going to kind of go with I think this is the latest one. This one came out in 2008, okay? I think, 2006, and Crimson, yeah. So this is the latest one. It came out 10 years ago. And it essentially takes the Infinity series. They did, I think, 3. There was a Star Wars, an Empire, and a Jedi. And each of them took one element of the story and changed it slightly. Okay? Now, in the case of the Infinities for Return of the Jedi, let me read this in the back. The Infinity series explores tantalizing what-if stories about what might have happened to Star Wars characters if events had occurred differently. In this tale, the rescue of Han Solo from Jabba's palace fails, so Princess Leia goes after Boba Fett in order to save Han. The climactic events on the second Death Star also take a different turn that sees Darth Vader changing his allegiances and fighting alongside his children. So, Vader turns good, but does not die. So, at the end of the episode, at the end of the series, you see Vader helping his children. And he feels that he can't be in black anymore because he's no longer a dark side supporter. He's part of the light. So, he changes his armor to white. So, I can say with all honesty that that was a little jarring to see that when I first read it. And again, I'm not a big comics fan. I mean, no, I don't dislike comics. There's so much else that goes on in my life personally that I've just never been one to follow the comic series in all greatest detail. But nonetheless, having said that, I did enjoy the Infinity story because this is interesting to see that what if take on it. Okay, so I was enjoying though the idea of Vader as a good guy. Now there is a part of me that thinks the logical part of me, the part that needs to suspend disbelief. There is a part of me that thinks, well, wait a minute. Isn't Vader responsible for like millions of deaths and atrocities? Because if that indeed is the case, then I would imagine that he couldn't just turn good and expect everybody to be okay with that. So that's where one of those things kind of happens, where I kind of say it works in a comic book, but I don't know if I'd buy it per se in a live situation like a movie. I don't know if it would work well for a movie. So now I will say that the Leia figure doesn't seem to want to hold her weapon. It had some rubber band kind of plasticky things. I'm trying to see if I can get it to hold it and like just like this, but it doesn't seem to want to. So I'm just going to plus Leia, it's a small figure. It's very tiny. I mean I know Leia herself is a small figure. I'm going to put the weapon on the side, and this will probably end up being... Again, this is the downside about some of the displayability of these characters. I don't know what the level of sculpt situation is for Hasbro when it comes to these, okay? But they're clearly not... I would not call them... Well, the sculpts are good, and the imagery of the figures is good, but it just goes to show you like how many different figures did they make. It's crazy to think about. If you're someone who's just getting started with Star Wars and you want to collect, I would tell you this right now. The first thing out of the gate is to remember this. You're never going to get them all. There have been so many exclusives and so many changes and so many variants. You are simply going down a rabbit hole that you do not want to go down. So just be aware of that. All right, now Vader, he's Vader. He's painted white. He looks cool. He does look cool. I gotta say, as a figure, it works. Okay. Obviously, he's white and gray. White and silver. So it's a simple paint job. Okay. I'm sure that people with more detailed knowledge of figures will be able to tell you which figure this was originally and then how they painted it. But it's still nice to see. So there he is, fighting alongside his daughter. That's probably about what the size differentiation would be. And then, of course, it does come with the comic. All right. Now, I will say that the comic is, in fact, it is a little bit kind of a different feel. Like I think it's a little less expensive paper, a little less expensive. It's kind of got and the quality of this particular one seems to have warped a little bit on the side. It's a little bendy, like that. But overall, pretty cool. So. You have the comic book, and then you have this. Generally, what I do with some of my stuff that I take out of the package is I keep one area that I just put a lot of loose stuff. When I can't keep it with the figure, I just kind of keep it loose and put it in a box, and just have it keep it there for forever, probably at this point. So, all right, moving back a little further. Okay, we got Crimson Empire, and again, Kyrkanos and Karnor Jax. Kyrkanos is the one that's mostly red. Karnor Jax is the one that's mostly black. Trained in the deadly secret art of Ichani and fanatically devoted to the Emperor, the royal guard from which these two men rose was the most feared group of warriors in the Empire. Treacherous usurper of the imperial throne, Karnor Jax betrayed his brothers in the guard and defied the memory of the Emperor, earning him the undying hatred of Kyrkanos. Kyrkanos, devoted to the codes of the New Order and Emperor Palpatine, embarked on a vendetta that rocked the shattered empire to its foundation. Though Jax had trained himself in the dark side of the Force, his power was not enough to stay the burning vengeance of Kyrkanos, and whose hand he met his death. So it's a story about kind of villains that fight villains, and they either die or they end up as villains. So you got to be into it. I think part of the allure of this comic at the time was that the Emperor Royal Guards were amazing looking. And everybody wanted a story for them. Like, what's their story? You know, you just see them and you see them, but what's their story? What is it all about? You know, because the movie, let's face it, Return of the Jedi, they were there, they stood there, and that was it. And then when we finally do see them again, you know, we see kind of like their evolution in the prequels. And when we finally see them in Return of the Jedi, oh, sorry, I heard any buzz there. When we finally see them in Return of the Jedi, in Revenge of the Sith, when we finally see them like kind of evolve, Yoda dispatches of them fairly quickly. So it you know, kind of was a letdown. Although I thought it was hysterical, you know, because it's Yoda. Come on, Yoda's going to take them out easy. These guys aren't that good. I mean, you know, otherwise, you know, you can't deny that Yoda's all powerful. So, all right, dude, this guy does not want to stand up. Stand up. All right, that's one. Karnar Jack, I believe. And here's Kir Kanos. And what's fun too, it's fun to bring these out now because it looks like Kir Kanos has a pistol too. Interesting. Oh, he does not want to hold his gun, so I think what I'm going to do is take the gun out, put the gun in. He has a holster, so put that in there. There you go. Good. Oh, he lost his arm. Oh no. It's funny, like how some of these characters, it's hysterical to think how much they these figures are very fragile, and unfortunately, being that they're loose now, you know, it makes it that much more likely that they're going to start losing limbs. So, come on, Kir Kanos, not Kira. Kira is a character coming up in Solo, but apparently there've been a lot of Kiras over the years. But this is Kir Kanos. So. And I like his staff, very similar. And in fact, the whole idea of these guards is very similar to what we see in The Last Jedi with the Praetorian Guards. So again, Crimson Empire number 6. Crimson Guard, I think that's Crimson Guard might be from G.I. Joe. Anyway. But again, same idea with these. It started to warp a little bit. Okay, so these are not the same level of comic, and they're also a slightly different publications than what you would have gotten in the actual when you bought the comic book itself. All right, last one for the day. All right, this is a longer episode, but as I said, some of them will be shorter. Okay, but as I said, we do have a few higher end items, you know, getting processed and hopefully shipped out. So we have Governor Tarkin and a Stormtrooper. Governor Tarkin commands a personal contingent of elite Stormtroopers aboard the Death Star, each one personally cleared and handpicked by the Governor himself. All right, so now this is interesting because it is I was talking about the comic book first. This is issue number 2, okay? And the illustrator on this was Howard Chaykin. If you want an interesting interview, look up any Howard Chaykin interviews. He's an interesting character. He had a lot of this information when he drew these characters and he drew these stuff. He had based on a lot of stuff prior to the movie coming out when he was drawing it. I'm trying to see if it says somewhere. I don't know if it does, but this one starts off, the name of it, Six in the Cantina. It starts off when the Stand people knock Luke out and Obi-Wan finds him. And then it carries over to basically when the Millennium Falcon leaves Tatooine and gets to the Death Star. So it's really fun to look at and to speculate like what people were thinking when they did this. I mean, all these covers a lot of them were false advertising. Like, look at this. You have Luke and Ben, right? They're both, Luke's got his blaster, Ben's got his lightsaber, which is red, by the way. And there's all these aliens getting ready to attack them or attack somebody. Swing that lightsaber, Ben, or we're finished. I mean, it's like, it was nothing this crazy. It was a very simple thing. It was very short. It was very sweet. But, they're trying to get people to buy the comic, so that's what they did. But if you talk to Howard Chaykin or you listen to Howard Chaykin, he will tell you, he's not a very let's just say his wording can be colorful, so he can be a little bit grumpy about it sometimes, but still, he did a neat job with it. But let's face it, when you're not 100% sure if you're getting this information before the movie comes out, some things are going to be dead on, and some things are going to be a little bit more, shall we say, some things are going to be, I guess you could say they'd be interpreted differently. One of them being the Governor Tarkin and his whole look. His whole look is just weird. So here's Governor Tarkin. First you've got the fact that he is in a tunic that is almost an emerald green, and I don't know, with these yellow stripes on the side, and he's got this orange collar. It's very, very 70s. It's hysterical, actually. So I just think that his look about it is pretty neat. I like that he has his arm kind of wrapped around his back. Okay, so what I'm going to do is try to actually put the gun in the back, so it's like he'd shoot you from behind without even thinking. It's not working. All right, so I'll just put his other arm behind him like that, and he will have his gun separate. And again, some of this is just the gun. The plastic after all these years is bent, and it won't hold anymore. And then you have your Stormtrooper. And again, it's pretty much a standard Stormtrooper sculpt, but his paint job is very interesting. I guess just the way the style of the art, Howard Chaykin illustrated the Stormtroopers with, instead of it just being all white with the black accents of the armor, of the Under Armour, he put all this blue in there and red eyes and made the Stormtrooper pretty menacing. So I thought that was pretty cool. And of course he has his weapon too, and same as normal. He has his gun there, but I'm going to just keep the gun in the one hand. And I see if I can get him to pose the right way. This one might be tricky because he does not seem to want to. Oh, there you go. All right, so there he is. All right, so Stormtrooper, Grand Moff Tarkin. All right, very different looking than they did in the actual books. So all the comic packs, and I think at the end of the series they might have come up with as many as 20 or even 30 of them. They're all different. Some of them, they tended to try to make the comic packs different. They weren't going to put a Luke and R2 in there that didn't look anything that looked exactly like any other Luke or R2. They tried to make them different so that you were getting a different figure. And sometimes they had different characters altogether. Okay, so there's a whole bunch out there. Just to look in, if you look on eBay or in Google, you type in Star Wars comic packs action figures, and a lot of them will come up, and you can see the kind you have. And you know what? If you're interested in reading some of those old comics, now keep in mind these three, for example, one of them was issue number 2, one was issue number 6, and one was issue number 4. So you're not getting the whole series. If you want to read the comics all together, they do have graphic novels that. Whoops, sorry, Vader. They do have graphic novels that do include all the stories from certain series, one after the other. I actually used to have all of the Marvel original series from the 70s and 80s, and I haven't since gotten rid of them in favor of just having the graphic novel that had them all kind of like an omnibus, has them all together. Vader's looking a little bit like he's ready to bend backwards. I'll have to figure that out. All right, so lots of different types of stuff today. A great hodgepodge and a longer episode. Thank you for bearing with me on it, but lots to talk about. And I am including a news segment these days, so there's a lot to talk about. So feel free to jump around. And again, as far as the giveaway is concerned, okay, I will announce the winner at the next episode. I know I said I would announce it at this one, but I wanted to give it a full week. So again, leave some comments. By the end of the day on Sunday, the 25th of February. So end of the day on this day is when I will use the randomizer. And again, you would need to leave a comment from the episode that said giveaway on it. And it was 2 episodes ago. I think it was the BB90 episode. Okay, so just look for where it says giveaway on my channel. And that'll do it for this episode, this lengthy episode of Darth Tuba Star Wars Unboxing Show. Like, subscribe, share on YouTube. Leave me comments, as I mentioned, anywhere, but especially if you want the giveaway, leave them on the comments from 2 episodes ago. And Darth Tuba on Twitter and Instagram, Darth Tuba Star Wars Unboxing page on Facebook, and email me darthtuba77@gmail.com if you have any other questions, things you want to know, and leave comments and suggestions, and more videos are coming. So until then, thank you so much, and may the Force be with you.